In life, we encounter people every day, all of whom have stories to share. We rarely take the time to ask people their personal stories, many of which will touch, move, and inspire us in some way. Matt has a passion for making authentic connections and learning about people from all walks of life. He has lived a life of giving back to the community and making a difference in people's lives. Are you ready to meet fascinating people and hear some inspiring stories? The Matt Hilton Show will introduce you to a world of possibilities you never knew existed. Sit back, be present, and enjoy. Here's your host, Matt Hilton.
Hey everyone, Matt Hilton here with the Matt Hilton Show. Today's guest is a friend of mine who just recently moved here to the U.S. from Kazakhstan, is an avid basketball fan, and is an owner of a painting company. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss his fascinating story.
Inspired, experienced, customer-focused. Find a mortgage that fits your needs with Maria Leach at First United Bank Mortgage, specializing in construction and closing all types of loans, including jumbo, portfolio, conventional, FHA, and VA. A tenured team, outstanding service, competitive programs. Finance your dreams with Maria Leach at First United Bank Mortgage. mleach.firstunitedteam.com, 214-316-7915, mleach at firstunitedbank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Matt Hilton Show. Today's guest is a friend of mine who is in a business networking international group that I'm involved in. His name is Andrey Shelokovskiy, and he is one with 360 Painting, right?
Exactly.
So welcome, Andrey. Thank you for being here. And have you done anything like this before?
Hey Matt, pleasure to be here, and then thanks for having me. So, no, actually, I haven't done like the podcast really before, but I have done a couple of interviews. So, and then as you know, English is not my native language, so I'm trying to work with that.
Yeah. Well, you're doing great, my friend. You're doing great. We've met before casually, just in that networking nature of doing a one-to-one, finding out more about each other and our businesses, and I found you fascinating, and I felt like you had an inspiring story that I would love for our viewers and listeners to hear. So tell us a little bit about you and where you're from, and just your experience growing up.
Well, originally I was born and raised in Kazakhstan, so that's where my parents came from Russia too, and I was part of the ex-Soviet back then. And so I had like past 10 years of experience in the painting industry. That's the reason I wanted to start my own painting company. And just in terms of the story in a nutshell, so I was born and raised in a family that was pretty broke. So I was trying to get out of it, I guess, just by seeing and experiencing whatever my family has experienced. So I was always trying to get out of it, out of that circle, if you will. So we came here last year with my family. So that's me, my wife, and a kiddo. And then the second kiddo was just born a couple of months ago.
You got your hands full.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was a pretty crazy ride for me so far.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back a little bit to Kazakhstan and growing up.
Yeah.
And so you said you broke out of not having the opportunities that you have here in the United States. So what was it like growing up? What did your family do for a living? Like what was that like for you?
Yeah. First of all, I have never met my father. So my mother broke up with him whenever I was 8 months old.
Okay.
So I never had a chance to see him. And I was told that he died at the time of me being 12.
Okay.
So didn't fact check on that.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So my mother used to be she used to sew clothes.
Okay.
So that's what she did for a living, and then she was doing some housekeeping activities just as a side gig to make it work, right? So I think my father used to be a crane worker. That's what I was told.
Okay.
So pretty labor-intensive jobs.
Right.
Yeah. So growing up in Kazakhstan, whenever you are a kid, I don't think you can tell like much of a difference because you're not exposed to the different environments.
Mhm.
So you are in a pretty similar settings with everybody else, and then you don't get to choose, right? So growing up I was a happy kid. I mean, I used to play basketball, so I used to have like a lot of teammates that we hang out with, and then I started to realize the shortage of opportunities later in life. We're talking about whenever I started working, I started working at 17 years old.
Okay.
And then whenever I started moving up the career ladder, I could see that the economy, the strength of the economy, and then the size of the economy is way different that you have like in some other nations, some other countries. But I only could realize all that whenever we started traveling more.
Mm.
So, and I could get an exposure to new cultures, new countries, new people, share some experiences. And then you basically, whenever you can compare it to different experiences, you can tell whether you can basically compare, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So when you were growing up, how easily accessible was it to go across the country border to other countries? Like, I mean, because for people who haven't been overseas,
Yeah.
those countries are very close to each other
Yeah.
in that area, correct? So, I
Yeah.
mean, it'd be like driving from here to Oklahoma or
Yeah.
New Mexico, right? Or taking a train.
Yeah.
So, what was your method of transportation? What was that
Yeah.
like visiting other countries?
Well, Kazakhstan is a pretty big country, so it's ninth by the territory. It's not densely populated. It's one of the least, populated countries by density, right? So
Okay.
by the territory, basically, you have like the cities are spread out. So you have to drive maybe 600, 800 miles towards the next city.
Oh, wow.
So there's a desert in between, right? So you can have a couple of villages here and there, like very poor infrastructure. You're not gonna have McDonald's in a way.
Right.
So yeah.
And if your car breaks down, there's not
Exactly.
a pit
Yeah,
stop.
yeah. Like every the beauty of driving here. I mean, you don't need to plan your gas breaks, right?
Mhm.
So your gas stops. Like over there, you have to maybe the next gas stop is gonna be 200 miles away. So you have to take into assumption all that.
Yeah.
And then like most of the people they use cars, but not as frequently, like in between the cities travel. And then if we're talking about the in between the countries travel, like the Kazakhstan has borders like with Russia, with Turkmenistan, the Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan and all these funny places.
Mhm.
So obviously, the most common method of transportation would be flights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you like most about growing up in Kazakhstan? Looking back on your childhood, what did you like most about it?
That's a good question. So just looking back at the experiences, as I said, I was a happy kid, so I didn't get to choose much, and I didn't get like the vast array of experiences that I could compare to. So I had my happy days where I was just playing basketball and then hanging out with my teammates, and that was a good time that I
Yeah.
can reflect on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And, I can only compare what you're describing to what I experienced growing up, right? So, when I was growing up, my dad was a mechanic, my mom was a stay-at-home mom and babysat some kids in the house, right? So we were lower to mid-income family, right? We lived in a small 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath house that was about 1,300 square feet.
Mhm.
There were 4 of us. So my mom and dad, of course, shared a room. And then us 3 boys were in a room and my sister was in her room. So tight quarters, getting ready on a Sunday morning for church or going to school was interesting because you had one full bath and then you got ready in the half bath, right? So there was a lot of switching and moving around. But I know that my experience growing up as a kid, not knowing anything different, because that was
Yeah.
my construct,
Yeah.
right, of how I grew up. I
Yeah.
didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I had a very happy life, right? Didn't know that there was anything like there was a rich and famous lifestyle or what, it's like, what is that? But I was very happy. and it sounds like you had a similar experience. And you mentioned something as far as when you started traveling, that's when you started being able to compare, what opportunities weren't there for you. So when you traveled, was it somewhere within, Europe and Asia? Did you come over to America a couple of times? Like what was that travel like?
Yeah, like me and my family, we always were big on travel. So like my wife, she used to study in Europe, and then she was always willing to travel, and she wanted to visit places. And I think I have a love for travel from her in that respect. So,
Okay.
and then that's something that we commonly shared, from since day one, basically. Yeah, we visited over 25 countries so far. So
Wow.
we've been to Asia, we've been to America before. We've visited different parts of Europe, the east and west and north. So
Hmm.
we have pretty good picture of what's going on in the world right now. And that's one of the things, like reflecting back on the childhood, being in ex-Soviet system, like our parents and our grandparents, they were so strict inside of their box that was kind of drawn for them in Soviet times, where they were thinking very small, right?
Mm.
And then they would put a framework around all of us, that the world is this small, and this is your place in here. So don't go out of the circle, right?
Right.
So, and that was something that I realized later in life, where the world is much bigger, and the opportunities are much bigger. And then, obviously, when you come back from your trips and travels, you can definitely compare and reflect back on what you have learned, right?
Mm.
And then whenever we travel, we don't necessarily, just go to the hotels and experience the spas and pools and all that stuff. So we
Right.
like to connect with people, right? So we like to share the cultural experiences, like we did the other day with you, right? So
Mhm.
I like to meet real people, and try taste their food, and just see what's going on in the country, right?
Yeah.
And I like the America, on the other hand, was always attracting us in terms of the opportunity. I mean, everybody says it's a land of opportunity, right? But you can definitely, like, for me, that makes a lot of sense, because I know the difference. I know the difference being back there, owning your business or trying to set your own business back home versus doing that over here. It's a totally different picture.
So take us. Okay. So I'm. This is a part that I'm intrigued about, and I know those that are watching would be as well. So, what was it like growing up in a communist country? Like, what was it like having those restrictions, and compared to where you are now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as I said at the time, I didn't know what to compare it to, right?
Sure.
So it was fine. But like, whenever you are becoming more mature, and then that you are being restricted in certain way. So obviously, right now, I don't want to be restricted, right? I want to say whatever I want to say, and be heard, right? So there is a lot of censorship back then.
Okay. So
Where-
freedom of speech, censorship.
Yeah, like, so obviously this is a big deal. And then the opportunities, I feel like the opportunities in US are for everybody. Opportunities back home is for select personnel.
Okay. All right. So just certain people
Yeah.
could expand and do things, create their own businesses.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can certainly create your business, but
Okay.
it's got to be how successful you're going to get.
Mm.
Right. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So success is dependent upon who you know. Really.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
The
I'm
networking,
trying to read between the lines here.
Networking order is way different.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay. So you mentioned playing basketball.
Yeah.
So
I used to play for a local team. I was born and raised in a small city called Aktau. That's by Caspian Sea. It's around 250,000 population, so tiny city. I used to play basketball for a local team, and we used to play like on a national level. I mean, I always tell it's a joke, because the guys on the streets here, they can play way better. Yeah. So yeah, but that was something that I loved, and I did that every day in and day out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've been to a Mavs game together,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so that was fun, and I know you are a big supporter of that team, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, for sure. So as far as coming to the United States
Mhm.
and opening up this 360 painting,
Yeah.
like tell me where did that come from? How did you choose that industry, that
Right.
company? Tell us a little bit more
Yeah.
about your company.
Sure. So I used to work for painting industry for the last 10 years, and I used to work for the last 6 years was with PPG. So I used to work for an American company. I used to run 4 different countries, and I was responsible for basically starting from the key account relationship management with the big oil and gas companies, down to supply chain, distribution, and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I brought PPG to a successful point in Kazakhstan and in the Caspian Sea countries, and I always had a feeling that I could do some more.
Mm.
And being in the corporate environment, you also have like a lot of bureaucracy around. You have quite a few restrictions, right? So and you can't really run as fast as you want to. So, and I felt like I was ready to move forward. And then I was telling you about the opportunity, the size of the opportunity, and then like the economy in Kazakhstan is capped basically. So you can't really grow your business to double, triple every other year. So it's just not possible due to the size of it. And the 360 painting came to light basically whenever I was thinking about my own company, and I knew that I didn't want to have a company back in Kazakhstan because I don't want to have that sort of a limitation depending on the economy and the politics, right? So I was just going through and doing my due diligence on many franchisees, many franchise companies, and 360 was one of them. I was blown away by their technology and by their proposition. So, and I just did a deep dive, and I was working on getting to know the other owners and then the inside processes for about 6 months before I made a decision. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and essentially, the painting industry was something that I was very comfortable with. And I'm a petroleum engineer by degree. And then I also hold the membership chair in the National Association of Corrosion Engineers. So that was very easy and just the natural transition for me, starting the painting company.
Right, right. So you've been doing this for how long with 360 painting?
Since last year.
Since last year.
Yeah.
Okay. And within that year, how have you grown? What is it that is it just interior residential painting, or do you do other things? I've seen a couple of, I'm leading you to the responses because I've seen some of your projects that have been shared at BNI. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about what you do.
So we started as a residential painter, repainter. So we do obviously all sorts of residential work: interior painting, exterior painting, cabinetry finishing, all those basic like drywall repairs. And we also started to look into commercial, like light commercial more. And I don't know whether I'm gonna go industrial because of my background, like later in the process, but definitely we are looking at more commercial jobs right now, and we have done a hotel job, so that turned out to be awesome. So basically we do all sorts of interior and exterior painting.
Yeah. And you've helped me with a couple of jobs on some of the houses that we have gotten ready to sell, and they do a great job. Very thorough, and the quality is fantastic. Pricing is very comparable to other companies. So if you need a great painter, contact Andrey, and his information on how to contact him will be at the end of this this show today. So, if you were to give your younger self some advice based upon what you know today,
Right.
what would you tell younger Andrey?
Definitely, younger Andre would get the advice to think bigger, and then realize as soon as he can that the world is not the tiny place where you were born and where you are, because the world is full of opportunities and the life is so short. That's what I'm scared of the most, right? So we have a limited time on this planet, and then the question I'm asking myself is, what am I going to accomplish in a certain period, and what legacy I'm going to leave to my family?
Yeah. No, and I love that because, the other day I was talking to somebody, and I don't know if you've heard this before or not, but there is a date that you're born, and there's a date that you die.
Yeah.
And there's a dash in between on the tombstone.
Yeah.
And your life is about what did you do in the dash.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I ask myself that a lot. And I think us as fathers, right, that is something that we do ask ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Is what are we going? What is that dash? What is that significance that we're going to have so that the legacy we leave for our children and future generations, what does that look like?
Yeah.
So with that being said, 360 painting is one of those things, right, that you are building that you want to leave behind as a legacy of some sort. So is there anything else that you have on the horizon that you're wanting to maybe pursue?
I'm looking at the home services industry right now as I'm running 360 painting company, and then I can tell you that there's a ton of opportunities out there in the home services industry, and then there are a lot of underserved market, and then obviously the one of the main problems in the home services industry right now is that the lack of customer relationship and customer satisfaction, right? So, and then like me being with 360 painting, we definitely working a lot to bridge that gap, and I'm looking at the other complementary companies going forward to to stack my company on,
Right.
and like offer the full service,
Yeah.
like a stack. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in the coming years.
Okay, fantastic. So I want to go back real quick because something else is coming to me is you talk a lot about opportunities, and you would tell your younger self that to think bigger, right? And when your younger self, sees opportunity, like, do you see that is something that most young children or those that are growing up in Kazakhstan and other countries, in that area, that they have that same desire and feeling, and maybe they just don't know how to pursue opportunities outside of their little construct and their restricted bubble? Like how do you do that?
It's I would say that it's not about it's not geographical. It's not so like people in US or Kazakhstan or wherever. It's not about the geographical restrictions, but it's more about your desires and where you want to go, right? And whether you want to make a change, make a leap into unknown, because change is scary, and I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It just sometimes it just takes a leap, right, to find out whether you can do it, whether you're good at it, and then whether you can sustain it, right? And most people, I think the problem for most people is that they're not ready to take that leap, because going with the flow is easy, and I think that's universal. That can be applied to any country, any city across the globe.
I'm so glad you said that, because I was trying to purposely make it to where it was geographically bound, but it's not.
It's not.
It is in the mindset of any human, right? I mean, if you're in a particular situation, particular area, no matter where that is, right?
Yeah.
Particular family, maybe, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard to change. It's hard to break that barrier
Yeah.
for where you're going to take your life, because you want a better life for yourself and
Yeah.
future generations, right?
Yeah, it's a complicated case where it starts from the young ages, where the parents set an expectation for you, right? And that's where it all begins. And then, it can be controversial, where it can be too little of expectations, too much of an expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I think I had too little of an expectation. I was just survive, just don't die. Just that's it. And then obviously I would have hoped that I could do some more than just survive.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah, for sure. Well, from what I know about you, you're thriving. So, and I love that you have made that leap, that you have, broken through that barrier, and that you are here and you're creating that legacy, living that legacy, right? That you want to leave.
Yeah.
So proud of you for that. That's great.
Thank you.
Great. Yes, sir. So, is there anything that you have done in your past that if you had to do again, you would not do it?
That's a good question. Never thought of it, actually, because, like, one of the sometimes you make decisions and you feel right away that it's the wrong decision. But what I came to know about, like, my decisions back in the day is that they are somehow connected.
Mm.
So, and then all the decisions that I made so far, even though they have seen controversial, they have seen as bad decisions from day one, they make sense down the road. So it's like when Steve Jobs said, you just do things and you hope the dots will connect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, like, I can connect certain dots making decisions 10 years ago. And then certainly the decision to come to US was scary, was crazy. My family was on the fence, so
Mm-hmm.
they didn't know what's gonna happen. I mean, neither did I. So we had to take the leap. Just hold our hands together and take a leap.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So take us down one of those. Does something come to mind as far as one of those decisions that you made that you look back on it now and you're like connecting those dots? And
Yeah.
besides coming to America, is there
Yeah.
something else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I was changing. I changed quite a bit of a jobs, like, back in my career. So I worked for like 5 or 6 companies, and then the PPG was the longest tenure. And I thought that the companies that I was in first place, for example, they suited me well, and I never had to leave them. But I can see right now that I gained so much of the experience, and then I gained so much knowledge out of those positions, and they lead me where I'm at, where I'm going right now. So that's one of the things that come to my mind in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So is there someone in your life that has been, if you look back, that's been inspirational to you? Like, is there someone that you have seen what they've done with their life, or just that you maybe grew up with?
Right.
Yeah.
That's my wife, for sure.
Your wife?
Yeah.
All right, well, tell us about your wife.
Yeah,
Brag
because
on her a little bit.
she goes an extra mile for me.
Okay.
And I have to tip my hat off, because I mean, I understand. I mean, she basically just decided to follow me in all these
Mhm.
journeys, and sometimes they get crazy. Like, here we are right now.
Right.
But and I admire that she was willing to trust me, and she was willing to be my safety net. So whenever I fall, she catches me. And, like, she does a tremendous job with the kiddos. She does a tremendous job just supporting me, and that's been inspirational.
Yeah. And where'd y'all meet?
We met back home, back in Kazakhstan. In the she came to one of the basketball games that I was playing at, and she went to support one of her classmates. She saw me, she texted me, and that's how it all started.
That's how it all started.
Oh yeah.
And 2 kids later, here you are today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
fantastic. Fantastic. So of all the countries that you have visited, how many did you say? 20 something?
25.
25.
Yeah.
Is there one that you would go back to? Like, I love to travel. So if you could look at those 25 and go, Matt, you really need to go here,
Yeah.
where
Like,
would you
I would-
recommend?
If we didn't move to US, I would say US, right? Because I love traveling to US. I love all the nature. So we had a couple of travels before to US before we moved here, and we visited all the like some of the national parks. And I love Yosemite. I love the national parks in California. So I would say, I would have gone back to US and visit some more places, some more states, and some more national parks. As we are here right now, I would say I would definitely go back to Italy.
To Italy. What
Yeah.
part?
The Florence. Like
Okay.
I enjoyed Florence a lot. The food is amazing, obviously, and the architecture is just tremendous. Yeah.
Okay. And was that like is that where you went for your honeymoon? Is that just a weekend trip? Like what?
We actually went to Italy just separately.
Oh, okay.
So she went. My wife went there whenever she was at school, and I went there like with my colleagues of mine. So
Okay.
we had a business trip, and we just decided to stop for 4 days
Yeah.
and explore Italy. That was beautiful.
Wow, that's fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, I love to travel. So I haven't been to Italy. So that's why I was asking like what area and all,
Yeah,
because
I can get you some tips.
Okay, fantastic. So you know about our nonprofit that I have, right? I'm the chief happiness officer of a nonprofit called Who Do You Know?
Yeah,
So I'm going to ask you a few questions real quick.
sure.
And because our viewers and listeners may be able to make some connections and connect some dots to make
Right.
some dreams come true for you.
Yeah.
So we inspire imagination and bring joyfulness into people's lives by granting people's wishes and dreams from any walk of life by making connections, by connecting dots, right?
Right.
So we focus on 3 pillars: person you want to meet, place you want to go, and experience you want to have. So who is a person you would like to meet who's living?
Right. Yeah, I would say, I love to meet the business people, right? So I like to meet them, exchange experiences, and then get something out of it. But in this case, I would just stay grounded, and then I would like to meet Luka Doncic.
Oh, really?
And get his
Okay.
autograph.
Okay.
So and we're in Dallas, so that's very
That's
close
a
possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Luca.
Luka.
Who knows Luca? Let's make this happen. All right, so what experience would you like to have? An experience meaning like hot air balloon ride, jumping out of a plane, going to the Super Bowl on Thanksgiving Day or something like so. What type of an experience
Right.
would you like to have that you haven't?
I have done just a little bit of a surfing. So I'm a big like outdoor activities guy. So I do snowboarding, I do diving, and we're never sitting still whenever we go and travel. So,
Right.
So I would love to experience more surfing. So
More surfing.
yeah, and I would love to get my skill a little bit up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit about that too, real quick. So diving.
Right.
I've scuba dived before too.
Okay.
So where have you scuba dived, and where would you go back to?
Right. I haven't done like many spots, but I did Thailand. So I did Koh Tao. That was good. And I did Philippines. That was beautiful. So I did my PADI course in Philippines, and then I dived like shipwrecks and all that. So that was a lot of fun.
Did you find any treasure or
No.
pirate's gold?
No, just a fish and a coral.
All right.
Yeah, but I would definitely like to do more diving sites. Like explore the Red Sea. I hear it's beautiful. I never went to Egypt for that. So because I knew that that was gonna be like a couple of days of diving, and then I get bored because there's not much to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the third pillar is a place you want to go. So
Yeah.
you've been all over the place. So where's a place that you would want to go that you haven't been yet?
I want to go to Iceland. So
Iceland.
yeah, I have been to Norway before, and I kind of like this Scandinavian culture and like the Vikings culture.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to go to Iceland and just explore the beautiful places over there, just the hills, the lakes, all these waterfalls. So
Right.
yeah,
Have you seen the Northern Lights before?
no,
Okay.
that's definitely
that's
something
part
on the
of it.
list. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, so as a father of children, uh, it's an interesting time of raising kids.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's interesting no matter what time period you're in, right? Like something
Sure.
always happens. So, what advice? What do you want to teach your children as they grow? Like, do you have core values that you want to teach them? Like, yeah. So, just what is?
Mhm.
Have you and your wife talked about what that looks like as you
Sure.
start raising this family?
Yeah, I would say the most important thing you can do for your children is be the role model.
Mm.
So we just try to be ourselves, because the children, they should connect the dots eventually, right? So if you are trying to get your children, or let them teach something that you're not good at, or you're just not about it,
Mm-hmm.
it will be very difficult for them to connect dots, and then it will be difficult for them to gain that skill. But if you are just being a role model for them, and then you are showing them the way forward, they can learn quickly. And then I can see my daughter she's about to turn 4. So, and I can see that I reflect a lot on like on whatever she does, and I can see myself
Mm.
through that experience. And again, I don't know whether that's good or bad going forward, but definitely we have to be aware that whatever we do, whatever actions we take, certainly going to impact our children, and who they're going to grow up, right, as. So yeah, definitely we have to be cautious of our actions.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, Andrey, thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And is there anything? This is a question I haven't asked any of my guests yet, but I'm going to ask you this question. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't? Like, is there anything that you would like to share with the viewers and the audience today that maybe I should have asked you?
Yeah, I think you should have asked me about the decision process,
Okay.
how I made a decision to come here, and I find it entertaining.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
For sure. We've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So we actually came, like we have done a lot of due diligence back home, but we came here on vacation, and we decided to never go back.
Oh.
So that
You
was
came to Dallas on vacation, or
no,
Oh,
we
okay.
came to US on vacation, so we thought we're gonna meet all the franchisees, and then went to go to the headquarters of the franchise company, and go back and prepare everything, and move here. So we actually, like, on the way during our vacation, we were traveling East Coast, so we did a road trip from New York down to Florida. And then, like, on the way in, I think, somewhere in the middle, like in Atlanta. I said to my wife, I think it's time. Like, the time is now.
Mm.
So, because we knew that if we're going to go back, it's going to take some time. And then, my wife was pregnant at the time, so it's going to take some time with the documents and everything. And it was a quick, and then it was scary decision to make. And I was questioning myself since we made it, I was questioning myself a lot,
Mhm.
whether that was right or wrong. And certainly I can, bear fruits right now where it was the right decision, and it was not less painful though, but it was everything came together. Talking about connecting dots again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And-
sometimes I mean, like me personally, sometimes I feel like I have to trust my guts, my guts, and then
Mhm.
I felt that was the right time.
Wow. So where did you, I mean, you went to on vacation, you were just going to go to New York, or you were going to make the drive
Yeah,
all
we-
the way down to Florida
Yeah.
as part of the vacation?
Yeah, we were gonna do just a month vacation, do the
A
road
month
trip.
vacation.
Yeah.
Wow, must be nice.
Oh yeah. And we did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we wanted to do the road trip because we did last time we did like a road trip on a West Coast. So we went to the East Coast this time, and yeah, we came down from New York down to Florida.
That's a long drive.
That was a long drive for sure. With a kiddo that, yeah, with 3-year-old kiddo, that was a long drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Well, good deal. Well, I'm glad you made that decision. I'm glad to have met you.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Same here.
been a great time getting to know you today, and I hope that people will contact you if they have any type of painting needs with 360 Painting. And why don't you give them a way to contact you?
Yeah, so to get in touch with us is pretty easy. It's 360painting.com//Dallas, or you can always search us on the social media as 360 Painting of Dallas. So any of those ways will work great for us. Just message us, email us, and we'll be at your door.
Fantastic. And just as a reminder, any of you who know Luca, or if you know someone who can do some surfing lessons and then go to Iceland, those are the 3 things that are on our guest list today. So, Andrey, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, I just appreciate you and your friendship.
Thank you for having me, Matt. I
Yes, sir.
appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you all for tuning in, and please join us next week as we have another fascinating person with an inspiring story. Have a good one.
The Matt Hilton Show would like to thank our sponsors, Hilton Realty Advisors and Maria Leach with the First United Mortgage Group. The Matt Hilton Show would also like to thank our partners, the Who Do You Know organization. You can find out more at wdyk.org. If you'd like to contact Matt or know a fascinating person with an inspiring story that would make a great guest, reach out to the show at themattHiltonshow@gmail.com.